Hello, beautiful guardians of this beautiful planet, and so much more than that. And so here is our beautiful Yogananda. Just looking at Yogananda, we of course get a divine transmission. There is a reason for gurus. There is a reason for these avatars. And I mean the true gurus, not those who say they are gurus, but the ones that we do deeply recognize as gurus. To me, if someone calls themselves a guru, probably I would question it. But if we recognize them as that, that is very different. So Yogananda didn't really speak of himself as an avatar. He kept information very private about who he really was. And that's really wonderful because, again, it's up to us to recognize. And so here we are in the presence of this great guardian of the earth as well. He didn't love it here, to be honest with you. So he always says, one of the worst places in creation. He always said, there are so many more wonderful places within creation. Why not go there? And he was very specific about this. He didn't want to have any attachments in this world so that he doesn't have to come back. To me, this is, the beautiful divine comedy. And yet these beings are deeply, deeply, I would say, involved with what is happening here on planet Earth. And for those of you who know which song it was, if you have a link, I don't have a link, it's in iTunes. The song is called The Strength by Lua Maria from an album called Semila. And so Yogananda, I know that Yogananda actually came as a being to planet Earth the way that I experienced it, because many of us came with him. Ooh. Allow recording of the event, why not? Okay. And so I know that Yogananda came, on a divine mission at the beginning of life on planet Earth. And I always say, what's really important is to expand our perception of what life is and what life is not. It is not this one lifetime here. It is not this one little, what we call reincarnation. Actually, we will stop calling it reincarnation, because in 2020, Yogananda worked with us, and I mean in the ethers with many of us, to rebuild the astral sphere. Now, I only know it because he invited me to participate in this. And so, when the avatar comes and says, come with me, we have a job. So we had a job in 2020. 2020 was a breakthrough years in the ascension process. And so guided by these great avatars, we went into the ethers and we started to rebuild actually what you can call the way that we die and the way that we reincarnate. In a way, we rebuild the astral sphere under the guidance of the great avatars, of course. I don't take any credit. But I want to say, it happened. So we used to have this reincarnation. In a way, to me, it was like being recycled all the time, not being able to make the spiral of evolution and go to higher and higher and higher and higher planes. And so that ended in 2020. Now it's going to be new embodiment instead of reincarnation. Imagine, for example, the teachings of the Buddha, all about reincarnation. But again, to me, this is not at all anymore applicable to us here. And that's maybe daring to say so. But the thing is, even the Buddha knows, and he's not the only Buddha. There are many Buddhas who are participating in this ascension process. So, for example, when we see the company of heaven, when we visit with them, we will find that all these beings are actually working together. There is no separation between these beings in higher realms. So, for example, you and me, and whether you know it or not, we had a big, big, big divine, I call it party, but of course that's exaggerating, in the higher realms in 2021. And this divine party, which was a big gathering of all of awakened and awakening humanity in these higher realms. And according to Patricia, that's almost 8 billion of us. She says very few are very resistant. And so that's good to know. I don't have that information myself. But I was there myself. And I saw all of us that are here in these higher realms gathering. And this was spectacular again in 2021. And we gathered with the company of heaven, and you could see all the beings that you know from Buddhism, all the many, 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 many Buddhas. You could see many Taras. You could see all the beings that we refer to as the Egyptian gods. We had all the Christed beings. And here in this world, we give them titles like that, but that's not at all that true reality. We say Hindu gods. To me, those are not at all Hindu gods. When you go into creation and see that all is one, all these beings exist as actually permanent beings within creation. They don't do what we do. They don't have this like, okay, I'll be this for a while, then I'll be something else. They permanently embody themselves as, for example, we call her Shakti, we call him Shiva, we give them names, right? So we call them Isis and we call them Osiris. The names do not matter, but you've seen what they are depicted as. So when you look at creation, for example, you will see that all originates in oneness. It is one source. And from this one source, you have a spiral that goes out, and this spiral starts creating. We call it the spiral of creation, the spiral of evolution. And now, as this spiral moves out, it really creates beings that are then kind of permanent to creation. And so the first ones that you might see, we would call them, for example, Shiva and Shakti. And then it spirals out and it creates the next level of the spiral. And on the next level of the spiral, you would see beings that we call Isis and Osiris. And all of them represent Mother, Father, God. And then it spirals out and it creates the next level of beings, and so on and so on. And these beings become creator beings. So all these beings are part of the so-called company of heaven. And of course, it includes all beings that we, kind of worship here on this planet, and we recognize them. So it's pretty amazing to see. And this is actually what was visible to us, of course, Yeshua and Magdalene and all of those. And, we give them names, and it doesn't mean that those are real names actually in higher realms, but it's okay. And so this was also the revelation for humanity last night. It was shown to us how this spiral is moving out and who is who and what is what. And so, as we gather with these beautiful beings, they are all participating in this ascension process of the earth. So all equally, everybody has their role, just like you and me have our roles, and we are fulfilling those whether we know it or not. One of the big roles that we have right now is actually doing what we are doing here in this group, and that is to activate our vehicle of light more and more and more, to become very good at it, to be able to really navigate these multidimensional realities in a conscious way, and to actually see how it all works through our own light body. Meaning, when you know how to drive, you might have a great experience being in a multidimensional car or a spaceship. If we don't know how to drive, it might be very stressful and not very effective to start driving. And so this is the way that I see it. When you go to higher realms, you navigate so many realms, you navigate dimensions, you navigate parallel realities. And it gets very, very, I'd say, overwhelming if we don't have the right equipment. To me, the equipment that I take with me is myself, as my superconscious self. I highly recommend that. And then always remembering to chant Om to be actually the best propelling system that we can have. And then to always remember that it is your light body that takes you around. Now, as you have noticed through the work that we do, and not just this work, but all the work that we do, our energy dictates where we are going. We cannot go where we are not magnetically drawn to. Otherwise, there would be chaos. You see, this is the divine highways. They work like this. The highways are very simple. Either we match the frequency or not. If we don't, we go where our frequency is matching. And so everyone ends up where they belong. There is no question about it. So on planet Earth, we had a little problem here. The planet herself lowered frequency to such a low frequency that all sorts of beings could enter. And this ascension process is all about kind of fixing this so that the magnetism of the Earth, once again, collectively can only allow high vibrational beings of love and, of course, of divine light, all aligned with divine will. So, to me, I love investing not into money, but into this type of work, which means consciousness. And that means meditating every day, being in the highest state you can be. And I say sometimes we do fall. I experience unbelievable turbulence around May 24th. And this is part of the ascension process. A lot of us actually did experience it. To some people, it felt like the mind was unstoppable. Some people experience anxiety. Some people experience emptiness. Some people experience disconnect. Some people didn't experience anything. Some people experience a lot of doubt. Some people felt like, give me a break from this ascension process. And it's good to know this is part of it. And even then, we need to stay on course. I felt like I didn't recognize myself, but it's good to know when something like this happens that you say, it's happening, but it is not me. And I'm not going down with it. Yeah, absolutely. Some people are going to give up this ascension process completely. And I was one of them. It's good to laugh about it because, the next day, everything was gone. It was all perfect. And now we have truly anchored this big quantum shift that happened in the galaxy. Now, I knew from the beings this was going to come. I just didn't know what it was going to look like because they give you information. And of course, sometimes I don't get all the information, Patricia gets all the very cool information. Sorry, I just have to. And so, they told us it was coming and they told us in March. And so a little bit of a warning, and we always put it in the calendar with my husband just to know like when it's coming and what's going to happen and to see if all of it is really happening as they said they would. And it always is. It's also good to know that. And so they said specifically March 5th, which was our full moon here, and the Wesak festival and a lunar eclipse was going to bring, and this is exactly what they say. Oh, sorry. Thank you, May. Thank you, Romina. May. I don't know why I'm in March. May 5th. May 5th, they told us in March, would bring about a quantum galactic shift. Now, to me, I say I'm not a physicist, so I don't understand all the quantum realities, but that's what they said. Quantum leap within the galaxy. And so it is. Of course, it happened, and here we are, liberated to a certain extent. And I was showing this imagery here from April. If you remember, in April, and some dates I just cannot forget, April 15th, this wormhole between the Earth and Source itself, that's very unusual. Direct wormhole to Source was opened on April 15th. And the other picture I show that this is what it looked like. You can call it, Patricia calls it the shaft of freedom, I think, or the bridge of freedom, shaft of light. But when the wormhole opened, the light of Source was directly accessible from Earth to Source. And that to me was the preparation from May 5th, because it happened, 20 days before on April 15th. So these shafts of light, these wormholes, to me, they stay in existence. The yogis called it a channel to God. The channel to God is open for the Earth. Sorry, I need to text my daughter. And so this means we are now in a completely different reality. And so it is up to us to let go of our own limitations that anyway is the illusion. We are unlimited beings. We did have some burdens, of course, but we are letting go of those and we are choosing freedom. This freedom is actually an internal state of freedom, which is an energetic freedom. I associate freedom with the spinal cord because there was something, I mean, this is all science fiction, right? So Yogananda called it the cosmic war between forces. And so one day we will know exactly what happened here. It's a very long story, very old, ancient story that happened. But basically, unconsciousness and so-called evil was born within cosmos. And so we've had some struggles, but that's okay. It seems like it's part of the design anyway, according to Yogananda at least. And so we accept that maybe we don't know exactly all the details. But what I was able to see is that actually some forces did block the flow of life force within the human spine. And they put some blockages within the human spine, to actually limit our ability to be in our full-blown divinity. And a human being who is not full-blown divine, of course, then is easier to manipulate. And I'll leave it at that. But I just want to mention that these blockages were removed on May 5th. And so now we are in a whole new state of life force. And so we are now beings who are embodying this beautiful rainbow light through the multidimensional spine. As you know, your spine, always think of it as a multidimensional spine going way beyond the head, way beyond, all the way to source consciousness. And that is where we are now downloading the divine self more and more and more and more. And the more you download your divine self, the easier life gets. We will have huge activations going on in June, of course. And, it's again the solstice. And so what I learned about, for example, the importance of solstice. This is the drawing I made when we went to Ohio to the Serpent Mound. And I was shown how during the solstice events, during the solstice, the day before, during the solstice, whether it is summer or winter, it doesn't matter. We actually have the day before, the day of, and a few days actually after, unbelievable opportunities happening here on planet Earth that allow us to actually access these higher realms because of the flow of energies around the Earth. And that's why all our ancient people, of course, observed the solstice, and they took it as an opportunity for ascension. Our spines are definitely our inner highways, absolutely. And so everyone, I always recommend breathe through your spine, get to know your spine, breathe from that limited coccyx and go from the base of the spine, through that beautiful elevator. This is really our ascension tube. Go through the ascension tube up above the head and meet with God and demand it. I demand it every day. I'm like, come on, I'm your child. If I'm your child, then, and whatever God is for you, of course, God can be also personalized. You can see God as the mother. And of course, that's not just all of her. When she reveals herself to you, for example, when she reveals herself to you, she will take on a form and she's very playful. She will keep switching it. And so first she will be Adi Shakti, then will be the Green Tara. She will appear as Mother Mary. And all of these forms, she likes to play. She really does. And she takes on different bodies, different age, different skin color, that's also important. She can be, an African lady who comes to you and, all of it, because of course she's the mother of all things here. But also we can go to the ultimate, which is the source itself, which is really just light in all of creation. So whatever it is, it can happen through the spine, through the spinal breathing, and of course through your exploration of higher realms with your vehicle of light. So the breathing, we have powerful breathing techniques, of course, that can really help us. For example, I practice many of them, but it really depends on what I'm trying to achieve. Am I trying to just energize myself? Then I will be doing the breath of fire. Am I trying to connect with my divine self? I would be doing the quantum pause. Am I trying to go to source? I'm going to use the Hamsa breath through the spine. And all these techniques are really wonderful, but one of them, the quantum breath, for example, the way that the wing makers teach it, or the way that I do it, and the way that my divine self actually taught it, is not to hold the breath. Yogananda also was he always found that holding the breath is not scientific. And he wanted to have a little bit of science behind it so that everybody can actually have amazing results. And so let's try the quantum breath, when you do not hold the breath itself, but you simply inhale very slowly. And when you inhale very slowly, you fill your lungs up. And then when they are full, there is a slight moment, a pause, a quantum pause, in which the lungs are full and the out breath has not yet arrived. So we are trying to completely allow nature to move through us the way that she moves through cosmos. And that is through the inhale, natural pause. And then the exhale comes. When the exhale comes, you again exhale really slowly. Just slow exhale, completely laid back. This is, of course, affecting your nervous system. You're switching gears. You're going into the gear of your divine self. And so when you come to the end of the exhale, then when the lungs are empty, again, there is a little pause that simply arises. And then the inhale comes again. So let's try it together without holding, always through the nose. So the rule in breathing that we know is that we breathe through the nose and we eat through the mouth. There are some exceptions to this, when you do like stretching and exercise, you might also be using your mouth to exhale. But for this divine breathing, we only use the nose. So we always want to be sitting upright. And the reason for that is that our spine is always that highway to these gates of heaven. And so we want the gates to open when our spine is actually pointing the right way to divine will, to divine source, to divine power. And so we inhale starting at the base of the spine. We always start at the base of the spine because that's where the human is usually very stuck in the physicality of things. And so as we inhale through the spine, we go through the nose, moving through the spine like an elevator, inhaling, 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 inhaling above the head, and touch source. Yes, we have source looking at us right now. And then you pause, simply pause for 1 split second in source, and then you exhale down. You are enlightening yourself, always through that multidimensional spine. And at the base of the spine, you deliver the light when you exhale and you come to the end of the exhale. And so let us try once again. Start at the base of the spine. We have so much light around us. Inhale up through the spine. Pause in source and come down on the exhale through the spine. Bring that light down to the space of the spine and then just breathe normally. So this is an amazing, amazing process. That alone can get you so connected. Just as we did this like this, my third eye opened and I was able to see all the incredible light that is moving through us, So we are moving into more and more and more seeing, hearing, knowing, feeling, of course. Beautiful. This is the great breath. I highly recommend doing this one every day to connect to source, because you claim your heritage. That's it. Nothing about us is not worthy of a direct communion with God. That's how I approach it every single day. Here I am. I'm your child. Come and hang out, So Yogananda, he teaches that kind of attitude, which I really love. So he taught me, how to actually speak up a little bit to feel like, hey, I'm here. You made me. So, by the way, and so here we are. This is really fun. It is all very fun going through this ascension process. So we will go into meditation. I wanted to say, what is this ascension process also about before we go into meditation, and why does it matter that you do what you do? So I have memories of a planet completely destroyed by unconsciousness in a nuclear explosion, and I don't know how many nuclear explosions it takes to destroy a planet. But it always was a possibility even for planet Earth. As you know, the most visited sites by aliens on planet Earth, meaning UFOs, are always sites with nuclear weapons. Nuclear energy. It simply is a little too distractive when it is not used appropriately. And so I know that many beings come here still to make sure that humanity doesn't end up that way. So part of our service here is expanding consciousness so much that everyone becomes a peacekeeping force, love-keeping force, light-keeping force. And that if we have some nefarious beings on this beautiful planet who do not wish for life to thrive, for humanity to thrive, for the planet to thrive, that these forces are not in power. The thing about AI, I know two things Divine Mother told me specifically, and she told me personally, she came and she said, mimic nature, always mimic nature. She said, if we do have technology, that technology must mimic nature, and to be always, supportive of thriving and never pose a danger of being misused. And so whatever it is, for example, I find the internet wonderful, but also there are, of course, I would say millions of people who use it for things that are not so wonderful, and so on and so on, So AI itself, if it is mimicking nature, is all good. But if not, not so good. And I think that's what other beings have learned as well, that we need to mimic nature. The highest form of thriving in higher realms, which I have mentioned before through my journeys, I was so blown away, and this is the last thing I'll share. I was so blown away to find that the higher you go, the more nature you will find. And then the higher you go, even more nature you will find. And that in higher realms, the beings who are extremely evolved, they only live in pure consciousness. They integrate into this beautiful nature. And not all nature looks the way that it looks here, of course. She becomes much more ethereal, but she still is that nature. She's the cosmic nature, of course. And then beings who become extremely evolved, they start to become creators of nature. And they themselves create galaxies. They create solar systems. They create planets. Specifically, they create even universes. And so, it's amazing. It is all creation of nature, really. Divine Mother is deeply, deeply connected to all of nature. I'd say one day we'll talk about the depth of it. It goes deep. And so whatever we can do for nature, we are doing that for Divine Mother. And so our meditation today, our transmission is absolutely fabulous. And you will be connecting with your parallel self. And that parallel self, as you know, already exists. We have many parallel selves. You can visit with them even. And we want to go to the one who figured things out. And from that parallel self, we'll be learning today and tomorrow how to be masters. And so here we are. Welcome back. And so, isn't this amazing? And I see the question here I want to answer. So we have two base tetrahedrons that are the large ones. In a way, you could say it's your divine feminine, divine masculine. You could say it's your divine mother, divine father, and they have polarities. So, for example, you can envision, like you see it here in the picture, that the bottom one is below your feet. And maybe they meet somewhere around the heart or slightly below, and that the other one goes above your head. It can be that way, or you can have it exactly in your body, from your feet to your head, whatever you prefer. Now, I always say at the beginning, you will be envisioning things, but when the seeing comes, you will have a breakthrough of seeing. It will be exactly as it really is. So don't worry about it too much. Our envisioning is very helpful. My guides always told me that visualization is a bridge. We are building a bridge, and they told me it's brick by brick, you're building a bridge. And when you get to the other side, that's when we actually open our seeing. So when I was able to, for the first time, see the field, it looked very similar to this, but the sizes were not exactly all the same, which is fine. So I'm always trying to find new images. The one I included in the email today was a really good one too, because it had the different sizes. When I was still visualizing the tetrahedrons, I was visualizing them more in a pattern like this. So there was space between them. But when I got to see them, I saw that actually all of them were touching, and at the center of them were these two big ones that are kind of like the main ones. So hopefully that is helpful. Before you go to bed, this is what I recommend. Putting your tetrahedrons like this, where they touch with the tip, then moving them slightly apart, as you know, it opens the portal. And so as I enter the bed, I move through the portal. And then, of course, the nighttime unfolds, beautifully in these higher realms. Also, as you know, for those of you who have been working with us for a while, then you know that you can put a cloak of tetrahedrons around yourself, which is also very cool. So you just add to it. It's nice to have this cloak and then see how this changes your life, actually. Yes, putting on the cloak. Wonderful. And so what is happening here? Another thing I recommend is starting to connect with Sai Baba. And that is because he now is the guardian of this planetary cycle. So he can be very, very helpful to all of us. You know, we have great beings who are helping with this planetary ascension, and he's one of them. So again, just a recommendation. But tomorrow we will continue this work. Again, it's going to be so fun. Imagine like if you're driving a minivan, that in every seat you have your alternate self. It's kind of cool. It would be a cool party, at least, you with yourself and so many of you. And so we will continue the work. We will be again stepping into greater mastery. And then on the 3rd of June, for me, that's the 3rd of June, we will be working with the planetary tetrahedrons. And then on Sunday, for me, that's June 4th, we will do the 2 initiations with Jesus, which I know so many of you requested and enjoyed. So thank you so much and many blessings.